Yeah.
Okay, fine. So there's no drama to talk about. That's fine. We'll have a non-drama this week.
Disappointed. Come on, South. What are we doing?
What are we doing, guys? 3 weeks and we're already out of drama? Oh, damn it.
Loud in third place is drama, dude. That is
Loud,
super.
loud
Wait, did y'all know about the tiebreak rules? So I was watching the VOD and like I saw Bren saying like I wish RMC was here, and the joke was I actually did look up the tiebreak rules because I was originally scheduled for Game 3 and Game 4, so it's they do strength of schedule now, like strength of wins. Sorry, it's the tiebreak.
So it's not
For a
not-
multi-team tiebreaker, right? Not
Yeah,
head.
for like a 3-way for Circle of Sucks. Yeah, I mean it's head to head followed by strength of wins, then
Right.
followed by total victory time, and I think Loud, Lev, and Katestars actually went to victory time.
Wow.
Well, yeah. I think that would put Loud at the top, and then Leviathan and Cade both probably have pretty bad victory strength. But Loud, I think, because they beat Furia, they probably have a better victory strength because of that. But Leviathan and Cade both folded against the better teams.
Yeah, 'cause they all went 1-1 against each other.
Because like Vivo Cade only beat the bottom 4, like not including themselves, and then Leviathan had a win against Furia. I guess they actually did as well. So then maybe Loud and
but then
Leviathan are
because
split on game time.
Loud and Lev lost to Red instead of Furia, but then wait.
And
that makes
Leviathan
no sense
beat
then.
Cade.
Why?
Right?
Why is Cade fifth then? I don't
So
understand.
Leviathan just beat Cade, no?
Leviathan beat.
So
Cade,
that's head to
yeah.
head, and that's number 1 rule. So they're just ahead of them.
No, well, because the head to head
No,
made the
it's-
Circle of Suck, right? And then the problem is Loud and Lev both lost to Red, whereas.
Yeah,
But beat
because
Furia.
between loud between
Oh no,
Loud
that
and
makes
Cade.
sense. No, that makes sense because Lev and Loud beat Furia, who's second place. Therefore, their strength of wins was stronger.
Yeah,
okay,
and
that
then I
makes
guess
sense.
Loud
Yeah.
maybe wins on game time over Leviathan at that stage, perhaps. If they
They also just straight up have the head to head over Leviathan.
does it go? So do we go
actually,
back to head at that point?
Yeah,
'Cause,
actually, no. Then it would be game time anyways. Like Loud's wins were faster anyways.
Yeah, Leviathan went long
Yeah.
in their way. Even like the Furia one, remember, like a lot of Leviathan games were long and shitty and just very painful, right? But
You see, this is why I can't give up best of ones in the South specifically. Like I don't like best of ones, but somehow we get the funniest ties in the South. Like Brazil constantly gives us really funny
like
ties.
as much as we kind of memed about the format change and people joked about, oh, they've just like changed the format again and now it's like really complicated and there's a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff. Like I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
really
It's-
just open the podcast before we start having this conversation because this is like,
Actually, let's just start recording, and this can just be it.
let's just start recording. Fine. Like, I mean, so I've already been recording, but I just haven't done like an intro. But that's probably fine. It's not the end of the universe, and we can probably just keep going.
Just do the intro now, Jason.
Okay,
We'll just have this
let's just do
preamble.
it now. So let's just do it now. Let's just do it live, right? Welcome everybody back to Gringos Liberados. My name is Trajan. I'm joined by 404 and RMC, and we are halfway through a discussion about why the format's good.
Yeah.
So to finish that point off, we'll obviously talk about Super Week. We'll look at the next week. We'll do questions, do all the usual bits. Don't worry about that. But as we were saying, this format, as kind of joked as it was at the time, because of another format change and another extra stages added, and the LEC did not do super well with its like multi-triple stage, triple split stuff. Nobody liked that. I think that the best of ones so far have been fun, as RMC said. We've gotten funny ties to get through. The games have actually been pretty fun to watch. We still have a pretty reasonable looking standings. Like, this doesn't look like a fake standings. This looks like an understandable. This looks like it reflects the games that we saw. And now we just get to go to best of threes, and now we can see them in best of threes, and we know there's plenty of best of fives in playoffs as well, so we're not missing out on like a lot of series play. So I don't know, it seems good. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I really like it. We're getting all 5 flavors, right? I've got sweet. Pain is finishing first and looking good. We've got sour, which is Loud is somehow coming back and looking like Championship Loud again. We've got salty. That's the IE fans down at the bottom crying their hearts. Oh,
True.
actually, that's bitter probably for
That's
the IE
bitter, I
fans
think.
right now. Yeah. Salt. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of Salt. Maybe Doomers are salting right now as Aegis.
Salt might be the Furia fans losing to Loud again to stop themselves from finishing first. I was pretty salty about that, but
that is actually true. I was actually quite shocked by that. But Okoisa, Ruin, Volto, I guess. And then Umami is the freaking three-way tie we got because it's Brazil. And it's never just as simple as head-to-head. It's not even as simple as strength of wins. We had to go all the way to victory times. I love it.
Yeah. Pretty ridiculous stuff. Loud going from 6th to 3rd in Super Week, just leapfrogging this pack, going from 1-3 to 4-3. They actually put the perfect Super Week together, as we had feared on last week's episode.
And them and Cade, like they literally opposite trajectories, right? Loud went from 0-3 to 4-3, not in the Super Week, but over the course of their games, and then Cade 4-0 to 4-3, and they have gone in opposite direction in the table. Yep. That's a shame because I mean, Cade, like it wasn't great, but like they're not. Are they our 5th best team?
They were always fake, man. Watch the games back. Watch their wins. Watch how slowly and passively they roll towards their wins instead of doing anything. Like,
you can't even say that for their last 2 games, though. Like, what they did against Furia and what they did against Pain, like, they weren't rolling slowly. Like, they were doing stuff, and then...
And what happened?
The wheels just came off the bus. Like, if anything, they were spinning too fast, and then just, hit the mid-game, they hit an oil slick, and they're just, like, all over the place.
They used to be able to do that. They used to be able to do the maximum speed early games last year. Yeah, and they were great at it, and they would do 21-minute wins and 22-minute wins last year. And now they can't do it. And they don't look good in the wins. They like, I don't understand why, because the coaching staff has not changed, right? This kind of like, a lot of the players have changed, but we know that the VKS coaching back room has a strong vision of how they want the game to be played that has been consistent, right? And a lot of these players are also from the academy roster. So it's not like they weren't working with these players last year. They were just on the academy roster. So surely the same vision is in place, but they just can't do it anymore. I'm very confused.
I pulled out the numbers because I just want to highlight how bad this was for K-Stars. K-Stars against Furia had a 6,800 gold lead. Yeah. It peaked at 21 minutes. They had a gold lead all the way to 32 minutes, whereas 4,300 gold lead. They then proceeded to lose the game in the span of 2.5 minutes against Furia. They went from plus 4,382 to losing at negative 1,200, which is nothing. Negative 1,200 at 30 minutes is nothing. Against Pain, they got a significant lead around, like, I'd say around the 20-minute mark, about 1,900 gold. They peaked at 5,400 gold at about 33 minutes. Actually, no, 5,600 at 37 minutes, but realistically 34 minutes. And then, in the span of 5 minutes, about 43 minutes, they lost the game. Like, I don't understand this from K. Like, they are getting the big early mid-game leads that we're used to seeing. Yeah. And then they're just no finish. It's just, what?
Late game's hard, man. Late game's hard. It's always been
hard.
No,
it isn't. Pain's winning it. Loud's winning it. I'm a Pain fan. It's not hard if we're winning it.
But, when you look at just the history of minor region teams versus major region teams at international, and underdogs versus overdogs, bottom of the standings versus top of the standings, putting a strong early game together is provably not the hardest thing to do. It happens all the time. And when it comes down to late game, for some reason, it must be hard. It simply can't be as easy, or we'd do it more. You know what I mean? Or anyone would do it more over the 15 years that we've been playing League competitively at this point.
But domestically, we do it all the time, right? Yeah. Like we talk about Loud, the late games. Leviathan, starting the split, had some insane comebacks. Pain is another team that likes to team fight late, even when they're kind of screwing up their early game, especially in 2023, 2024. Like, Karaoke was non-existent until 25 minutes. And then we had Red. Heck, when Titan was on Red, they came back from, was it 2 open Nexuses in the same split? Like, same regular season? Like,
even Furia's getting good at it now, because, like, they did it to VKS, like, and they did it to someone else, right? 2 out of their 3 games, I think, were comebacks from gold deficits in the early game. They kind of did the opposite. Like, they used to be very strong early, but they had worse early games on balance. They couldn't bring it back against Loud, but they made a dang good go at it. Like, they drew those fights out. They were so close, all of those fights. They never quite got them over the line, and they always got just a little bit outperformed, but they weren't completely clueless. And in the other two games, they mounted comebacks from goal deficits, which is not what we've seen from Furia before. That used to be the issue with them, the same way that it is an issue for VKS and these teams filled with exciting young talent who just don't know how to finish a game cleanly. Furia seem to have crossed that hump, but they kind of left the rest of the game behind at the same time somehow, and ended up giving the gold lead over to Loud early, and then Loud is just too good at that stage still.
Is it them sucking, or is it Loud just being good now?
I mean, okay, so Loud. So let's talk about if Loud are good. So Loud 3-0'd, right?
Yep.
Who did they 3-0 this week? Let's check who they 3-0'd just to be sure. So they beat
Cade,
IE,
Furia,
and Fluxu.
Oh wait, no, sorry. Yeah.
And Furia. So they beat the two worst teams in the league, and then Furia. So the Furia game, legitimately good. Strong opponent that we know is good, and Loud put together a very good game, and they withstood the onslaught of Furia, who managed to try to challenge them almost successfully many times, and Loud actually stood tall and firm onto that. That was a very strong way for them to end the season. But in the IE game, they let IE get further than anyone had let IE get before that point. And then in the Fluxu game, it was just kind of Loud just sort of was good, right? It was just like Loud won, Fluxu weren't non-existent, but it didn't really feel like Fluxu were ever going to win that game. But let's kind of temper this a little bit for Loud. They are third right now. It's more of an issue for me that I don't know if there's anyone who's better than like it's like the teams below them Leviathan and Cade Stars and Red. I feel like they're still struggling more than I'm ready to say Loud is now way better, if you know what I mean.
They're not as trustworthy. I think you a point was forming in my head as you were talking was like I think the issue isn't so much that like how good is Loud, because I think that is still a bit of a question mark, because like you said, their strength of schedule and their strength of wins, right, maybe isn't that high. Although we say that the tiebreaker, right, like but that's the thing, right? Even you could look at it through a tiebreaker lens, or just like, you know, eye test, like, okay, if we're ready to call Loud's frauds, which I'm not even mad at, they well might be, but then it's like they are here because they took care of the quote unquote easy games, and they beat Furia. You know who didn't? Everyone else below them in the standings, right? Everyone else
except Leviathan.
Yeah, Leviathan, they're the giant killers. They might have the opposite.
That might have been a day one Furia thing, to be honest. That was like the game didn't really look like any of Furia's other games throughout the split. So I think that might have been a day one Furia problem.
So I think we'll see through these BO3s. Because I think the one thing I do like about this is that, like, yes, you get into this format, you get into like, you know, real kind of, best of three. Okay, here we go. Now it's squeaky bum time, as they say. And
we do say that over here. Yep.
Yeah, I know. I picked that one up recently. Yeah, love squeaky bum time.
Yeah.
And I could just say nut cutting time, but I tried to be a little more.
I appreciate the olive branch across the Atlantic to engage me in your point. I took it.
Got you.
Yep.
But like, because like the best of ones, it feels like now we do have a more accurate read on kind of like, you know, the level of these teams right now. But even then, like, you know, I think this format does for all of its, you know, faults or whatever. What it does do a good job of is it kind of ramps up, as, you know, it gives teams time to ramp up and like be slightly lower stakes games beforehand, right? Because you're not even eliminating anyone. Because like, yes. Okay, let's go over, you know, kind of, okay, the best of three format, right? You will not be eliminated unless you play a best of five. Is that correct?
Because
everyone gets to play a best of five?
No. So the cross group battles are still best of threes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But you won't get eliminated until you do the cross group battle.
So you play a round robin your three opponents, and then you're seeded, and then you do your cross group battles, which have elimination threat for the third and fourth seeds.
The 3-4 matches.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the elimination ones, and then the 1-1s and the 2-2s are for seeding.
Yes. So you get at least four best of threes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is potentially and that is anywhere between 8 to 12 games of data with Fearless, right? With best ofs.
Yeah.
On top of the 7 you already have, right? Like this will be. I'm very excited for this best of three phase. I think it's going to be absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, and like to bring it back to Loud, like Loud in series gets a little buff, especially when it's old Loud, because they tried new Loud. They evidently hated it, binned off the coach, binned off the 2 new players that would change the dynamic of this team, brought back in players that would make it old Loud. So they're doing old Loud again, and they look like old Loud again. So the jungle isn't quite as nuts, but he can get a little nuts, right? He can lead the charge into a team fight, you know what I mean? So and this is, if we put that old Loud back into best of series, then it becomes really very hard to beat them, as we have seen time and time again. And when we have these other, like, the threats that had risen up to kind of push them out, like VKS, who don't look as good as they did, Red, who don't look as good as they did, are we just primed for Loud to just lose his bracket right back into the grand finals and have another date with Pain? Or, you know, like, we could really go,
Loud...
we could go real CP LOL. We go real throwback time.
Yeah, Loud, I don't think, I'll shut up here, I've been talking for a while. Loud, I don't think will go to grand finals, but. Would it surprise you if they finish top of this group?
So their group is
Furia,
Loud, Red.
Yeah.
Not even slightly.
No, exactly, right? And that's the fascinating part of all this, just the way these groups shook out. Because of course, it's round robin best of 1 with 7 games. It's such a small sample size, relatively speaking. So these groups, like, you could have, like, not really, I'm exaggerating to make a point. You could have pulled 4 teams out of a hat and done the other 4 in a group, right?
Yeah.
There is a lot of randomness to these groups, which also makes it interesting and fun, right? Like, Group A is going to be Pain should win that group, but the rest is going to be a rock fight, dude. It's going to be it's going to be a bloodbath. And I have no idea what's going to happen in Group B. Loud could win. Furia should come on top. I think they're the best of those 4 teams. But Loud could top that group, and we'll just have to sit here and take it.
Yeah, especially because, like, the main other threat in that group is Furia. And what have they just done? They've just tripped Furia up again for the 3rd time in a row. They've just spiked
in
Furia's
a best of
wheel.
1.
In a best of one. And now they can do it in a best of 3. You know what the first matchup for Furia is? Loud. The first best of 3 that they have to play is Loud again. They go from losing to Loud to playing Loud straight away. Like, bro,
they're just in a best of 4.
They're just in a best of 4 against Loud, and they're already 1-0 down. And man, there's just such, like, a real, like, you know, the bad thing has returned energy for Loud just looming behind Furia right now. Like, very much they're right behind me, aren't they? Kind of energy.
Yeah, literally.
And it's just like, because Pain are too good, so they just walked away and topped a different group, and they were like, we're not dealing with you anymore. We don't get down in the mud with Loud anymore.
We don't have to deal with this anymore.
We're first.
Yep.
We don't
Thank goodness for that.
And now Furia is left, and Loud needs someone to bully, and it's Furia right in front of them, man. And like,
okay, not gonna lie, that game I was actually cheering on Loud for that last game because I wanted them out of the Pain group so badly.
I bet you did. Yeah, we were we could have had Pain Loud in Group A, and then RMC would have had to watch Loud beat Pain again in the group stage and knock them down.
That would have done numbers for viewership, though. The viewership would have gone crazy.
No, we need to save it for grand finals. That's when the numbers go nuts.
So yeah, I mean, the first place seeding match is probably odds on to be Loud versus Pain, out of the group.
It might be. Yeah.
So, like, well, yeah.
I'm as a flat circle.
Let's take a little look back at Super Week in a little bit more detail before we move on to the matchups for next week. So Pain are first. They 3-0'd. They beat Fluxu, they beat Leviathan, they beat VKS, and they looked real good doing it. Romer had a quiet week, but like they still won, right? And Romer played Ziggs, which I thought was cool because I like Ziggs. And he showed everyone what Ziggs does late game if you get to late game with Ziggs. So
I remember too, like he was getting caught out, and I was like, "What is Romer doing? This guy sucks. Like his damage must be trash." And then they showed the damage numbers, and he was doubling Titan's damage despite getting caught out. And I was just like, "What the hell is this nonsense?" Like,
Ziggs guarantee, buddy. Yeah.
That's so disgusting.
And especially if you have like a carry bot laner and like a backup carry top laner, Ziggs is so good, man. You do so much damage. You're so utilitous, and you never have to be the primary carry. It rules, man. This pick rules for any team with a carry bot laner, realistically. Like,
somebody needs to tell Romer though that he doesn't need to be primary carry. He also doesn't need to be a tank when he's playing Ziggs.
Yeah, he can sit back there. Like he doesn't have to get involved. he's not needed.
Does not need to be face checking bushes.
Does not need to face check. He has bombs, man. What's he face checking bushes from? Anyway, so Pain came out there first, and they look like the best team, right? We're all in agreement. Pain's best team.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always has been.
Always has been, he says.
All right.
Now he says. Everyone go and check the
I said it all throughout their eternal second rush. I've always said it.
Chat logs. Go and watch the first episode of the podcast. Man was losing faith. He was shaking.
No, I said they are still the best team, but they're probably going to crap up for some odd reason and then not end up first.
Yeah.
That could still happen in the playoffs.
It could still happen in playoffs. So it could stuff in the group phase. You know, we've got plenty of chances for them. But Pain are sitting pretty in first. They're all good. We've already talked a little bit about Furia and about kind of the problems that they had. So they beat Red, beat VKS, lost to Loud. So they still had 2 good wins kind of coming into this, but they were comeback wins, as we said. The early game suffered a little bit more than usual, but their resilience, especially from Gigo, a guy who went like 0-3 and then 0-3 or something in those 2 games, managed to kind of shine through. Plus, we got a little Azir top game for... Has anyone worked out why we did that yet, or are we just kind of going to accept that it happened and never see it again?
Well, okay, so to be fair, when Gwen was
I'll
still
never see it
broken
again.
It is actually a counter to Gwen that was theorized. There was a period where they were playing with Azir top. This was around the Grasp Azir time, because he is one of the safer mages that can play a long lane, right?
Yeah.
With his ultimate, with the slide, you're kind of safe to get out. And against Gwen specifically, the way the matchup kind of goes is you just bully her with range. If she engages onto you, you just kind of slide away and disengage and never deal with her. If she tries to dive you with the Hallowed Mist, then you can kind of use the Emperor's Divide to kick her out and or kick her in and just kind of kite her around. So the idea is there and sound. It is worth noting, though, Gigo was not running Grasp. Though he did still carry the game. So the pick itself is not troll necessarily. It's just that it's kind of troll. It's like, it's not meta. It's not necessary. Gigo has better answers into it. It feels like he was just saying, okay, we're going to win this. Like, Tatu and Tuts got Doom and Mago, not a problem. I can afford to experiment a little bit in the top lane. That almost came back to bite them, but Tuts' Zed actually did come back late game after a horrific start.
Yeah, both the solo laners kind of suffered. And, like, if we can all be honest for a bit, FNB tossed that game almost single-handed.
It was not his best.
No, he had such a good lane, 1v2 outplaying, making a fool of the Azir counter pick, chilling into the mid game, doing massive damage in the bot lane river fight, and then he just gets too excited. Red just refuses to not fight at every possible opportunity, regardless of the setting. And he throws the fight away. They lose control of the objectives. They give the gold to Gigo. They get the Azir back in the game, and we're just now it's over. And now it's unplayable somehow. Somehow everything is unplayable after like 2 bad decisions from FNB. And man,
was this the game where he flashed into the wall or no?
No, I don't think he flashed into a wall. No, he kind of skip and slashed over a wall with no ability
That's
to follow
what I'm thinking. Yep,
out of his Hallowed Mist, so that the Hallowed Mist turned off, and then was like, oh, hang on.
I'm now balls deep.
That wasn't it.
I'm 1v5,
Actually.
and I just removed my safety ability.
Yep, he's balls deep with no protection.
Literally, man.
How?
And this
you never want to find yourself there.
Yeah, man, and like the unfortunate truth for FNB is there have always been these like team fight positioning errors that creep into FNB's game through the years. They're not constant. I wouldn't even go as far to call them frequent, but they are. They're always around. Every few games, you get one where he's just in the wrong side of the pit. He's on the wrong side of a wall. He's way away from his team. His flanks are completely the wrong spot. And this has always been like the one gaping hole for me with FNB, who's such a good laner, and a lot of the time, such a good team fighter, and such a good side laner. And he has great champion pool, but like...
Is this not literally Koisa Ruin Photo? The bad thing returned, the bad habit of him choking when he needs to clutch up returns?
Yeah, I mean...
It feels like he does this a lot. Like you said, it's not super common that he makes these weird mistakes, but it is consistent that when he does it, it literally costs them games. And it's almost always in like critical moments.
Yeah, it's not constant, but it is consistent. It is just, it will pop up. And even like, this game doesn't even matter that much. Like, it's not even like he's at high pressure scenario where he needed to perform well, and then in the clutch team fight he messed it up. Like, he did the hard stuff right, which was to deal with the lane pressure and then like get through the skirmishing and get like 2 items deep on Gwen, at which point the game should be kind of solved. But it feels more like laxness than pressure issue, you know what I mean? It feels like losing focus and losing the sense that you could lose a game, and just like, well, now I can just do whatever, and I'm strong, so I can go and do whatever I want. And against Loud, against Furia, against Pain, you just can't do that. You can't pull that stuff, man. Like, it's...
Well, do we want to transition a little bit to Red? Because I feel like it's not just an F&B issue, right? Like, we had similar problems against IE, or Red had similar problems against IE, and then it got fixed against Fluxus W7M, and there was a change that happened between when they were slack and messing up and when they cleaned up their game against Fluxus W7M.
Yeah, it was the opponent changed. The opponent changed.
He's got it. He's got it.
Yeah, like I'm kind of being facetious here, but like, man, was that ever the best little welcome back to the LTA South Aegis game?
Yeah, I mean, he's been in Academy, so they just gave him an Academy roster to play against on his first game back. It's like a transitional ease. It's a smoothing of the curve.
So he only played 1 week in Academy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they did that weird thing where they were starting Doom.
He played 2, didn't he? Doom was in for week 1 and 2.
Was it 2 weeks?
So Doom came in like on the day of the first game. They were like, "We're playing Doom," and everyone was like, "Okay."
He just had games.
Yeah, it's two.
Oh, you just said 2 games. Okay, so 2 weeks then.
6 games total were Doom.
Yeah, because CD started first, right? So there was like Doom was starting to play in CD already, and then they swapped him in. So
wait, so did Doom?
Yeah, and then
Doom can't play CD and Tier 1 at the same time, can he?
I don't know, because now Aegis and Doom both played, right? Like in the same weekend.
But like,
somebody's numbers down.
But like in the same, so like if it's Doom's playing CD games and Tier 1 games, and then the last Tier 1 game Aegis comes in, but Aegis didn't play any CD games that week.
Hold on, let me see. Okay, yeah, Aegis only played 1 game of one match of CD against Flamengo. I was pretty sure I only saw him once.
That doesn't even sound like it's allowed. That doesn't sound like it should be allowed.
I don't know how. The problem is the desync is complicated now, right? Like there are no.
Yeah.
Tier 2 no longer matches with Tier 1.
Yeah.
Like, week to week exactly.
They used to
so
do the
rules
roster
got
lock thing every week, and you'd know who's playing. But they, I guess, can't do that anymore because they don't necessarily know. Fine, I guess. Anyway, the point is, Aegis came in, dropped a banger, and everyone clapped and cheered. And
yeah,
what sorry, go ahead.
No, just a dumb little comparison. In baseball, so like every Major League Baseball team has a farm team, right? In the division below. And when even star players get injured and then they come back, right, they do what's called a rehab outing, where they go, and play against the minor league team, right? And usually if they're looking good, they just throw demonic numbers up, right, in those outings. They're like, yep, you're fine, come back up. That's what the Fluxu W7M game felt like.
Yep.
It's like, all right, we don't know if you're like back, let's give you an easy one to transition. Yeah. That was it.
So last week, I asked on the podcast, do we think we're going to see Doom for the rest of the season? And the general consensus was probably yes. No. Do we think we're going to see Doom back for groups, or are we just going back Aegis mode? Because
we're going back in Aegis.
The Red
There's
CEO or Red... Somebody, was it CEO? These CEOs are always getting into interviews and posting stuff, right? But he said that Aegis was down there for disciplinary reasons. Like, he was relegated to the academy team as a punishment for not trying hard enough, essentially. And is now back, which makes me think that, well, he's tried hard enough in academy. He was pretty good in academy, right? We could all agree that Aegis was probably too good for academy. And now he's just out of the doghouse, and he's back in, and Doom's back down, or what?
So I call BS on that, because they claimed, and it was Corradini, right, like the co-owner of Red, who was posting this, that disciplinary issues, they had set certain goals for Aegis to hit, and then once he hits those goals, he's kind of allowed back in.
Yeah.
Right, but to me, he played 2 games. What were the goals? Win your games against Yampy? Like, he's done that before in CB LOL, and we're doing it again in Academy. It doesn't feel like, or CD, it doesn't feel like a a significant real goal, right? And he's just in Academy. He played exactly the same way he played up in Tier 1, which was, hey, Grefter, come over here, And Grefter came over there, and they looked really, really good together. With Grefter, okay, to be fair, Grefter picked up the kills this time. Nice change. Maybe that was the disciplinary goal. Don't take the kills.
Is to not kill steal X number of kills in every game.
Yeah, make sure your mid gets more
not going to get that. Yeah, God knows Greftar's not going to get that gold from laning, so you got to give him the kills early.
That's not even fair or true in CD. He's actually winning in CD.
I mean, so are we surprised that you say, like, you're calling BS on it because it doesn't make sense to do this, and then, like, what could we reasonably have achieved in the time that he's down there? Like, how could it have been? My proposal is that it was a badly thought through move that didn't really have a lot of justification and grounding and clear goals, and now he's back. And it doesn't make sense because it didn't make sense and wasn't super well thought out or clear and was maybe too achievable and didn't really achieve anything and was kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it, because it was,
my guess.
Yeah, and again, like we're just kind of speculating here, but like that is like it was like Aegis was sick, so we just brought in Doom, and turns out he's Smurf. Yeah. It's like it's the Goot thing all over again, right? And Smurf, look, guys. Goot was good, right? They went whatever, like 13 and 15 and 1 or whatever. But like, I think it was just that. And even Aegis, like he put out like a long post saying just like, oh, the time down there gave me, like I wasn't, focusing on myself, I wasn't having healthy habits, blah blah blah. It just seems it's like none of these things. There's no consistent thread about all this. So I just I tend to think that it was just a poorly thought out strategy, right? It was like oh well, we switched Mago, we could switch Doom, right? Yeah,
like maybe it was as simple as like show up to practice on time, play your solo queue games every week, like do what we ask everybody to do on a baseline to be a member of the team, and like I'm sure it wouldn't be the first time a successful Brazilian player has like let their practice habits slip a little bit, maybe partied a bit too hard and stopped caring so much about improving, right? Like this every region has players like this. And I imagine it might have just been like actually do what we ask our players to do in terms of like the bare minimum of practice hours and stuff. Maybe it's as simple as that. And then he was like, okay, well I'll show up and I'll be on time and I'll like engage and I'll do the right things. And then he did for a couple of weeks, and then like, cool, you did. There you go, back up to tier 1. Okay. Here's Fluxu.
I guess so. And you know what? For Doomers, okay, I'm being slightly troll here, but Doom better than Aegis, because Doom beat Loud, 3rd place Loud, and 4th place Leviathan.
So true.
What's Aegis beating? 7th place Fluxu W7.
So true, man. Doom's beat what? Aegis beat Ganks, right? Who's Ganks? Never heard of it, mate. Doom's beat Shinny. Championship Shinny.
CBLOL champion.
CBLOL champion Shinny. So Red going forward are likely. I assume we're keeping Mago because that was kind of a.
They said they are not bringing
this
and like a whole different kind of
so we will have to see how Aegis and Mago works going forward. Given what we've seen from Mago, there was like the Talia game and then some Akali games and some really like aggressive sort of hero play style that missed about as much as it hit. And then we went back to Talia and went back to kind of there's been a bit of a mix of what we've seen from Mago, and the performance has been like So I guess we'll see how that meshes with Aegis. If we're gonna see more support from Aegis, or if we're gonna see him go back to carrying, and they might ask if they're gonna ask Mago to just like play Ari and Orianna and follow him around like Garfella does. I don't know.
Yeah, Mago and Fearless is going to be really, really interesting, because that seems like almost like what you were saying without saying it explicitly. The champ pool is a little sus with Mago, right? It seems like he's kind of good on the Talia just because you can't really make a hero ball play on Talia. You could hit a good seismic shove, and even then, if you miss it, okay, right? It's very kind of non-committal.
I'm sure we saw some mid laner just like completely free ball a Talia into 5 and die at some point last split or the split before, but
probably
it's possible, but it's harder, and you're less incentivized to do that like with the champion.
Exactly.
There is a much easier way to play the game on Talia, so yeah, we'll see how Aegis and Mago pans out. RMC, do you think that Aegis and Mago is going to be ultimately better than Aegis and Doom, or Aegis and Grefthar? Like, what do you think is actually, in your opinion, the correct way for Red to progress with this team?
Maybe it's a hot take. I worry for Mago. I think if Aegis gets his way, we're just going to see Grefthar 2.0.
Yeah.
So you think so you think Grevthar, maybe not this, but like you think that Aegis made Grevthar into Grevthar more than like Grevthar made Grevthar into Grevthar?
No. Because Aegis and Grevthar used to play together a lot. Like to a certain extent, I think Grevthar willingly became Grevthar as he is now, because they play a lot together. Aegis likes to carry stuff like that. But my concern is more that with the way this team is built right now, you've got 4 carries, right? And Frosty, who, I mean, he's like a great support player, amazing support player, fits the team perfectly. But the problem is you only have so many resources, and Aegis can't steal resources from FNB. FNB is not going to take it. Brunsy's Mr. Bodgap, and he's your AD carry. You can't steal resources from your AD carry. So who are you going to steal resources from? Your mid laner. And Mago's new, younger, and frankly, the more I watch him play, I feel like he's losing confidence as this split goes on. Like he came in with the Kali, he was doing like the level, like, was it level 4, level 5, like 1v1, like let's go sort of deal. And now he's like going back to Talia duty, Corky duty. Right, where he's not being that big playmaker, he's not being a carry. He's kind of following up with the team and doing what the team wants him to do.
Yeah, and it's tough to say whether that's him losing confidence or the team losing confidence in him and changing the drafts around him. But I think that the point still stands.
Yeah,
exactly. That's my concern, right? It feels like he's kind of just falling into that mode where he's just doing what the team needs. And if FNB and Brunsey aren't giving up resources, and Aegis consciously or unconsciously makes a lot of the game about himself, Mago is going to start playing second fiddle to Aegis. And we know what happens when that happens. Red starts to win, but your mid laner becomes Grevthar.
Yeah, and again, and I think that goes back to the whole existential like aspect of this whole roster swap is like, okay, maybe like, like they won 2 titles like this.
Yep.
Right? You had a legitimate carry top laner in Gigo. I'm not saying it's sustainable or a good idea, right? But it's like, like this formula, right? It just has a ceiling, right? But it's like, how often do they hit that ceiling? And with Aegis, right? I mean, do you think that you can keep Aegis on a leash, if you will, if you just keep him on Sejuani Maokai?
Exactly. I mean, that's a big question, and the problem is who's the voice. And unfortunately, it felt like with Aegis off the team, they didn't have a voice, right? And that's why they look so messy when they're playing up against IE and up against Furia. Was because everybody's kind of doing their own thing. And now Aegis is back, he's the voice. So if he's the shot caller or he's the dog walker, who's walking him? Like who's putting the leash on Aegis when he's the one
who watches the watchman?
Yeah.
Yes. There we go. That's a better way to put it.
Great movie. Have you guys seen that movie?
No, unfortunately not.
Well, we'll have to see how this works.
I have read the Terry Pratchett book about that, but
I've read the Terry Pratchett book as well. It's hard to say how this is going to affect Red. I think it's better. I think Aegis is a better jungler than Doom. I basically is the simplest way to put it, right? Like, and we'll see if this ends up working out better. I think it will be, but so they ended up 6th, but they're only 1 win behind 3rd. You know what I mean? And they have the head-to-head over Loud, so they could have been asking some really difficult questions if they'd got 1 more win that week. So, we'll see with them, I suppose.
The middle of the LTA South is a very mushy middle.
Yeah, and
always is.
let's get into the mushy middle. Let's talk about Leviathan. Let's talk about the LLA, who
have
been just very hard to predict as a team throughout this whole thing, because they started with the sussest 2-0 of all time, and then they got rightfully 0-2'd, and then they 2-1'd Super Week, beating VKS to open it up, and everyone was like, okay, so that was the 4-0 from VKS dead, I guess. And then they lost to Furia, they lost to Pain, which everyone was like, okay. And then Titan got out of his chair and did the thing in front of Seo, which everyone enjoyed, like literally halfway across the stage before the Nexus explodes. The classic bowing
and got
to
me 4,500 likes on Twitter.
The accrued big numbies for 4x4 on the socials. So W for Sheskadeli. And then they beat IE in the last game, and they looked pretty darn good beating IE, I will say. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop the whole time, and I just kind of never did. And they looked
they held that shoe, and they beat IE all the way out of South America.
Cody particularly beat them.
I gave them the chunkless.
Absolutely slapped them into the dirt like a tent peg, man. Like, Cody went crazy in that game, and we saw some split one Cody.
Is this not the most Leviathan way to finish Super Week? We talk about the 2-0, absolutely disgusting 2-0 to start the season. And then we talk about the absolutely disgusting 0-2 losses in the second week. And then here, it's like, they're such a binary team. Either we are slapping or we are getting slapped. There is no in between. Like this team has no chill, and it's hilarious. But it also makes trying to understand them, like as an analyst, incredibly hard. Like they are. The only thing consistent is that they are inconsistent, and you don't know what to expect from game to game.
Yeah, I think they are still heavily reliant on individual outplay and outperforming to make these games work. I think that their players are generally performing pretty well. Zothvi and Cody particularly, I'm very happy with. I'm less happy with Seo than I was. He's kind of had a bit
54-3. He bodied Draven.
Yes, he did. And so he had a really great last game, right? That was a really good game. Yep. And he got me a ton of fantasy points. Love that. But up to that point, were we really seeing the Seo that we saw in Split 1 that was 1v2ing against all of our best duos and outplaying them? Like, we just didn't really see that much. So it feels like a very fragile house of cards that can be blown over at any point.
Yep.
So going, like, I don't know what that leaves them going into the next split. Like, they are in the group with Pain, Cade, and Isrus Estral. They looked like they crushed Isrus Estral. They got kind of crushed by Pain, and then they beat Cade Stars and looked pretty good. So are they second in that group? Are they gonna come out second seed in Group A with Pain in first? Maybe. Like, that feels crazy for them to do that, but
yeah. It should be Cade, but I think it'll just come down to whether Cade can fix their problems. Because I feel like for whatever reason, maybe this is crazy, but I almost feel like I've seen. Actually, no, I was about to say I feel like I've seen higher highs from Cade, but I don't know if that's true. I think that's true because I feel like I've seen them play like more controlled League of Legends, which like the flip side of that is what we've been criticizing them for, right? Is like, okay, maybe it's not, maybe it's a little too methodical. But yeah, I don't know, dude. I trust Cade more. Because like you said, Leviathan, I just don't know. Like I would feel more comfortable putting money on Cade second than Lev second, even though maybe they are more the same amount of likelihood that would happen.
Yeah.
But I feel more comfortable with Cade.
So for me, I think that last game from Lev was like the high point. And I'm like, okay, now I've seen highs that I could compare to Cade Stars, like Morteus' Kai'Sa game, and like Bull Jace game, like these really big performances that Cade Stars have. But then you can just go, well, what about the Cody Gragas game? Well, what about the Seo Kalista game? Well, what about the Zothvi Jace game? Like, there are the individuals on both sides of that matchup have had real big pop-offs. Neither of the teams, to my money, are particularly convincing yet. But they are in completely different ways. Like, as you kind of said before, like, they don't play the same at all. VKS, methodical to a fault. The style is so different. Methodical to a fault, in my opinion, largely. Obviously, they put the pedal to the metal in the last week, but then they ended up losing. So, I don't know. Are they going to keep doing that? Are they going to go back to what works? Who knows? And then Leviathan is just a dice roll every game as to what they do and how well they do it. So, I don't know, man. I like, they're a fascinating spanner in the works that can just... They can spike anybody, it seems, at this point. With games like that, I don't know if they can spike Pain. I feel like they could probably spike everyone else.
Well, they did in Split 1, right?
They did in Split 1, yes. They 2-1'd them in Split 1, right? And that was where the whole Seo Titan rivalry was born on that day, after Titan talking a whole lot of trash into that match and then losing 2-1 and kind of getting schooled a little bit by Seo. So... an interesting new chapter in that dialogue, at least, but we'll see how Leviathan does, man. Who knows? There will be an exciting mystery box every time they head onto the Rift going into the group stage. Their first matchup is against Pain as well, so not the ideal start. They might end up getting slapped down a little bit, but we'll see how they can do the best three. Cade Stars, we've already touched on, I think, about all the problems we have with them. 4-3, tough. They're going against IE, though, to start the groups, so hopefully... a chance to get something positive on the board. Yeah. Now, I think...
because I still feel like the team that will, if you just play badly, they should beat you.
Because I was going to ask.
Do you guys disagree with that?
So, like, because
I feel like I started feeling better about them, and then my opinion has kind of stagnated on them. / like in their losses, I felt like I gave more credit to the teams that beat them than I had anything to like rag on IE necessarily. But do you guys feel differently?
The first two games in Super Week, they showed something. They showed us
Yeah.
some semblance of a pulse and performance, and they had leads at times, and they were doing plays that made sense, and sometimes they would work. They still lost, and in the last game against Lev, they looked completely hopeless again. They went back to week 1, where it was just like, what are they doing? So I think that mechanically, they were very bad, generally speaking, and strategically, they were super flat, and like, almost like they felt like they should just automatically win games without having to try. I don't know, like, they just got kind of clowned. And RMC, I don't know if you feel like there is anything more, given that 2 out of the 3 games in Super Week were better, but the last one was so rough that, like, do you think we've actually made progress for IE overall, like with Summit coming in and everything?
I do think there has been progress. Like, I wouldn't go as far as to say there's like no progress whatsoever, but I just don't have confidence in them. Like, I don't feel like they've won any games. I mean, their one win is against Red, and I felt like that was more Red losing the game than IE winning the game, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say that, like, oh, they're a team that can sit back and punish you, like Loud used to be. But I don't quite believe that. I feel like more than they're a team that can punish you, they're a team that will just exist. And then if you beat yourself, like like Red has done, like K-Stars has done, like Lev has at times done, yeah, I think they'll beat you. But for example, as weird as it sounds right now, I don't think they can beat Fluxu W7M. Like, as weird as that sounds, like...
So...
True, yeah, they didn't. Yeah, but it's just like Fluxu W7M are actively trying to win games. And Fluxu W7M doesn't throw games. They lose games because they're not as good. But that's what I mean. Like, I don't feel like S4 Central can punish them for that. S4 Central just waits for you to beat yourself. And Fluxu W7M kind of doesn't do that. So
no, they don't. They have a serviceable game plan when they go into a game.
Yeah,
and they're just not.
They just can't always execute it. Yeah, but the plan is there. And yeah, so for me, I'm looking at IE going like, on paper they should be better than this, and they are improving. I think Summit stepping in has actually made improvements over Bertle. They do look more coordinated. Jose Dio looks like he actually has something he can do, and I do think it's been giving space for Miryu to actually be a bit more of a carry as well, since he's not being focused by all 5 members of the enemy team. That man was trying to pull a Messi prior to this, because there's just no other carry in that team. But yeah, I mean, paper is one thing, practical is another. Can they pop off? Yes. I still think there is a blueprint. Just put Snaker on freaking Ash Jin, play utility, and give Miryu a carry.
Well, that's the thing,
IE
right?
refuses to do it. So.
You mentioned, like, gives room for Miryu to be more of a carry. Because where is the bot lane? Where have they gone? They evaporated from Split 1 to Split 2. They are just the worst bot lane now? Like,
always happened. I think I called them
were they worse than Marvin and Giggs in Split 1?
Laning bot lane. Yeah,
but like, worst bot lane, not weakest laning 2v2. Worst bot lane. Flat out.
I would argue yes, because I think Marvin was actually good, and he was putting up the highest stats in Fluxu W7M. So
Geeks was a train wreck in Split 1, lest we forget.
Yeah, Geeks was
and like, but Snaker and Ackerman were just like going 7 CS down every game, and then they were doing team plays, and it was fine. And Isra Sestra they were playing well with the team, and Isra Sestra were playing a very standard, like, fairly coordinated team-based game, and it was working largely. But now it's not. Now Snaker and Ackerman, they're still not good in lane. They're absolutely still the worst 2v2, that's for sure. And now we're not even translating that into anything in the mid game. And is this because there is no direction from jungle from anyone else, or is this because they've just, like, everyone else has just, like, settled in from Split 1 and now they're being properly exposed? I don't know, but it feels like they were going even essentially every game, and now they are giga losing more often than not, which just feels like a big back step, or maybe just a stationary position while everyone else has taken a big step forward.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. Yeah, I mean, I did like Jose on the Lilia, like we saw. Right? I think
that was nice.
Again, that you have a couple of different ways you can play if you're IE. I think that should give you some comfort that, like, you have a quote unquote winning formula, right? And it further enables, like, even if Miru's not on his best, right, it further enables the bot lane to be a little more utilitarian, right, for lack of a better term. There is something there, right? It's like you said, there's a blueprint.
Yeah.
And they have an interesting group, right? I think they're in the weaker group, so, like, you can Oh, wait, no, JK, they are not.
No, they're in the pay.
They're not in the weekly group.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might finish last, guys. They might be dead last.
They managed to dodge the Fluxu spike at least, so big W for them. But they also, I believe, managed to dodge red, which is the only team they beat. So, oh well. If they finish last again, they don't. It's after split 3 is when the guest spot is fought for, right?
Yep.
And from my understanding, the guest spot always has to play for its life, regardless of what happens, right? Because then we'd have the relegated plus winning worlds joke that we had in the preseason intro. But so they're always going to have to play for it, even if they look a little better and they finish 7th or 6th. Are they going to get better enough to not still get relegated, like against Corinthians, against Dopamina, against Kaboom IDL, with Wizback?
Wiz Kaboom, baby.
Like, I don't know, man. It's not looking good. Like, we need to see some.
I mean, right now they're getting relegated.
And like, are we like? Does this same roster go to the end of the year and then play? Do they try to change something else? Because they didn't hesitate to toss Birdle out.
Okay, but who do you toss on this roster?
Botlane.
Right? Like,
they never would. They would never do that.
Compared to, I've said this about Sneaker Ackerman before. They
and also
play
the reason they tossed Birdle was because
he
he wasn't taking anything seriously behind the scenes.
That's true.
Like I think if he was doing the bare minimum as far as off the stuff, it was just like performing slightly off. I don't think they would have. Yeah.
Like if he wasn't locking himself in his room and lying about English lessons, they probably would have kept him on.
Oh my god. Like you can't make this shit up, dude. Esports is so unserious.
Yeah. So IE's kind of in the bin. Who else have we talked about? Fluxu, I guess. Yeah. So what are your guys' feelings at the end of Fluxu's positioning phase? Given we had the one win against IE, 404, Fluxu, W7M. What are we vibing on these guys right now?
If they win any of their best of 3s, it will be an upset. If they do it against Red, it wouldn't be a shock, but that does involve winning 2 games. That's just because I just have no confidence in Red. But I think they'll finish last. They'll play Leviathan in their 3rd place match, and then they'll lose. And they keep just like again like Fu's gonna win most elo held, like not even close. Like it looked like maybe for a second there it was gonna be someone else, but like Fu like and they keep just kind of messing with like, oh, let's give someone else a carry, let's give like let's put Marvin and Geeks, let's put Fu on Galio. Lord, when they put Fu on Galio, I almost fell out. I almost crashed all the way out. You would have seen. Oh my! Like
they're just trying to make.
It's like you have a
faker.
You have a formula, and like your opportunities for success are so limited, and even sometimes that doesn't work. But putting Fu on Galio is not going to work, dude. Like he's a legitimately carry threat. If you put him on a good team, dude. I don't know, man. Yeah, I have nothing really to say about Fluxu. Like they're
on Red next year. Any Red foods?
I could see that
in the house.
Yeah, I think he's had enough time to develop his own voice. I think he is. I suspect probably a leader on this Fluxu W7M roster, since he is the longest serving member on this roster. By the way, only guy who came back.
Veteran, by the way.
And from the one he plays,
veteran.
I think he does take games into his own hands sometimes. Even playing mages. So. Yeah, probably. So
I would love to see that. I actually like the players on Fluxu W7M. I think they are the players are scrapping and trying their hardest. Yeah. The more I'm watching, the more I dislike how this org is running. Though, like it doesn't feel like they're getting any support from the org.
What gave it away, RMC?
Yeah, I mean, what org?
about Fluxu W7M, Electric Boogaloo too.
So like, given that this is like W7M that got yanked up here, right? Like, is W7M doing things? Is that the org and Fluxu is just the name on the door for this year? And is it basically just like an academy team, like a CD team running a tier 1 team? Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because these guys went from Pain, which if we're talking structure, is probably one of the better options here in the region. Pain Academy, but still Pain, to... They do feel like they're just kind of flapping in the wind, and sometimes it works, a lot of times it doesn't. I don't know. I feel like they're getting a platform to show that they are skilled still in ways, which is good. So they're not just like the 1-17 Kaboom rosters where it was just like, this is hopeless and no one comes out.
This is just completely hopeless, exactly.
Yeah, it feels like all of the players do have opportunities to show themselves as being valuable, which at the very least should help them stay, if not in tier 1, then on a decent tier 2 team when this whole thing unravels, which it surely will at some point. But
yeah, this is more like the 3-15 Liberty team, right? They're like a lot of young talent up there. You can see who's on display, who's worth picking up. Problem is right now, the only two who look even half decent to me is Fu and Marvin. And even Marvin, I don't know if there's a spot for him in tier 1 with the 80 carry talent that exists in this region.
Put him on IE, mate. They could do with one. They could do with an 80 carry.
Maybe. Yeah. Honestly, maybe. But like, unfortunately for Gigs, I don't think he's really been able to strut his stuff this split. Hidan, man, I just feel so bad. Like I was starting to believe in Hidan, watching him in Academy, and then watching up here, I'm like, right, that's why he was in Academy.
Yeah.
Right? Like Bull had a redemption story. Hidan is not having his right now.
Yeah, we have Bull and Zothvi who are both fulfilling what Hidan used to be, which was like a lesser known, less experienced. Zothvi's not inexperienced, but less experienced than like Robo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like less experienced, able to outperform expectations decently regularly, and is an impressive, exciting new, like, is an excessive talent that will stick around and people will identify the value on. We have Zothvi, who for me is definitely doing that, and Bull, who is almost certainly doing that, certainly doing it to the degree that Hidan was doing it before. But I did ask him to have one good game on Monday, and he didn't. So I'm not going to be nice to him yet.
Monday was his best game.
Wait, or maybe this was Sunday? When was I watching
that this? Was 2-2-10 on Chase, and then he went 1-4-5 on Mbessa, and then he went, I can't remember what his scoreline on Fiora was. I just remember thinking that, please don't
Wait, the Fiora game? That
was Saturday, was Fiora. No, it wasn't. That was Saturday.
His game was good.
But that was Monday, yeah.
Yeah, his Monday Jace game was good. Yeah. But I was like in chat being like, if Bowl plays well this game, I'll stop being mean to him, and then he had a mare, so I was like, well, what can you do? I'm going to keep being mean to Bull. Yeah, so, but Zothvi for sure, and Bull is certainly getting there. 100%. Bull is getting there, and Hidan is just kind of like, I don't know where. Hidan needs some help.
Well, you talk about a well-run org, right? I feel like half of maybe not half. I don't know, but it is interesting to think about how much of Bull's success is just because he got called up by the right team.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
Because he was on Red, which I don't.
He was on Red. He was on Flamengo. He was on like
talent like that.
No.
INTZ was
He wasn't on. No, it was.
No, sorry, not INTZ. No.
That was Hidan.
That's Hidan. I'm giving.
But no, it was. He's not been on good projects yet. He is now on a good project, and it seems to be clearly having an impact on his ability to leverage his own strengths, in a 5v5 kind of sense as well. So I think.
Bull was on the INTZ roster.
He was on INTZ for
with Revolta on our first in 2021, our first split with the CP Law English project.
Oh, I wasn't there for that, so I didn't see Bull for that. I have no memory of this. I don't recall.
He's still only 22.
He's young, yeah.
He looks it, to be fair.
No, he does.
That is the real tragedy. Is if he could be the best top player in the league, and then he goes to international. You remember how many fans Aegis got when he went to MSI that one time from all the Chinese fans? Bull would be a hit.
Oh my dude, he would do numbers.
He would do crazy numbers and ditch playing pro to just become an influencer on Weibo, because he would do such crazy numbers. Like, he just needs to get good enough to make it. And then the sky's the limit for Bull. I'm telling you, this guy's an absolutely stunning human being. Right.
Just needs to get better at Fiora.
And then we'll talk again. Right. That's Fluxu. That's all the teams coming out of this. Now let's do a quick fantasy check-in before we look at the group stage matchups, and we'll do some quick predictions of those. But for fantasy, we have lost some ground to Lunar Day, sadly.
Yeah, we have all lost ground to Lunar Day, but I have gained ground in the standings. I had an okay week.
So you can now sort, by the way, Trajan. Shout out to the fantasy guys. You can sort the market by like the points they accrued in the last round. You can sort them by average points.
Yes.
You can sort your league by rounds now, so you can see who scored the most in this individual round 3.
Yeah.
And it's still Luna Day, unfortunately. She bodied everybody again.
It is, yes.
But Bren was actually the second highest this round. So
Yeah.
props
Let's
to
go,
him.
Bren. Let's go, community manager Bren. So we're still striving, and you know, RMC is still in fourth, and like that's not, and we've got plenty of rounds and games to go, and we have best of threes now, so there's a lot more, you know, room for highs and lows. So there is still a chance for sure. You've almost got all the pain roster locked in, right? You've almost secured every pain package.
So actually, fun fact about Fulminant Ray, who's now in third. We drafted the exact same thing. Our only difference was our mid laner. He stuck with Pain and Roamer last week. I took a gamble on Fu. And Fu food up my entire draft because this was his worst performing week by a mile. Yeah. So, yeah, Ray, shout out to you. He managed to overtake me because of that.
Yeah, shout out to Ray. So I before we went live, RMC was teasing me for sticking with my LLA players through this whole time, but I simply don't have the budget for better players because I spent it on them when they were moderately priced, and they all had terrible starts and have not been deemed to have recovered well enough. Even the Leviathan players that are now 4 and 3 are still like basically where they started. So, and Jose is still like 7 points down on his original price. So I'm in a deficit. Like,
I'm just saying, in top lane right now, Hidan's real cheap.
I know he is. Since he went 0 and 5 or something in the last match, like that's why.
Don't tempt him like that, dude.
Dude, man, and like Zothvi has been like my guy. He's been like my most consistent guy. I'm not ditching Zothvi. He puts up 17 points every week. He clocks in for 17 points, and I'll happily take them. Like, because even Jose had a 26-point game on the Lilia, but he also had like a 0-point game and a 5-point game, which has been mostly what he's been up to. So,
I actually can't believe Jose is now the second cheapest LTA South jungler, and this guy is like the goat.
Quite the timeline we're living in.
It's so grim. Like, my Furia guys are at least still doing well, but I do wish I had managed to squeeze the budget to keep Io instead of Sayo. That did not work out super well, but alas, then I could have maybe now swapped Io out for someone else and then got a better jungler, or at least a higher point scoring jungler. So we are still, for reference, for anyone interested, I am 113 points behind earlier today. So on my quest for compliments, it's not looking good. So instead, I will continue to attack her on this podcast, and then because that's all I have left. That's all my only recourse is to lash out at those around me because I have no hope. So look forward to that, I guess. Right. Let's talk about group phase, because we have some matchups to talk about. These are the first 4 matchups here, Group A and Group B. Back to Saturday, Sundays, back to 2 best of 3s in the day. RMC, what is it?
Okay, before we get into that, which team do we think benefits and suffers most from the switch from best of 1 to best of 3?
Loud benefits the most. Who loses out the most? Who's bad at Fearless?
Could it be Red just because of Mago? That's
okay.
But they're getting Aegis.
That's where my brain is going.
I feel like Aegis.
You do gain Aegis.
Out.
This is
he
fair.
plays everything, and they could do some Kindred stuff, you know, and he can just pull the Lily out like everyone else. He can do whatever. So, who's had a nice tight pool so far? To be honest, IE hasn't showed a huge amount of depth. Like,
no.
Jose's just been playing like Vi every game. He played the one Lilia game finally, but like they've been mostly trying the same thing over and over again, and it just didn't work. So I mean, because Split 1 wasn't Fearless, right? It was just best of 3s.
It was Fearless.
It was Fearless. Because they did alright at that point, but that was not a draft thing. That was a gameplay thing. I think, in hindsight. I mean, because best of 3s is so shallow. You need maybe 3. You need 3 champions to play. Surely we can all play 3 champions, right? So, like,
Yeah.
I guess I'm not looking at as much from the Fearless angle as more just who has demonstrated resilience in series over the years, which is why I went straight to Loud.
That's fair. I mean, no, generally it does better when they got more games.
Yeah, and to be fair, even if you do it on that basis, Red would also be disadvantaged because they are like the biggest Game 5 losers of all time. So,
But it's best of 3, not best of 5.
so
we don't
maybe
have to
we need to check those BF5s and see if they're going up 2-1 or 1-2 in those BF5s to see how they're actually in best of 3s. But they don't seem to clutch up, as unfortunately neither have Furia. When they've been asked to clutch up, they don't do that. They lost in best of 5s to Loud. They lost in best of 3s to IE in split 1 in the first round. And then, was it Loud in lower bracket again? Did they actually lose to Loud again? Well, they might have. I'll check the tapes.
So what I'm hearing right now from you, Trajan, is Loud benefits the most, Furia or Red?
I think Furia and Red
suffers the most?
might suffer the most.
4v4? Where are you at?
Oh, Furia lost to Pain in the lower bracket, but still.
I think it could be a buff for Furia just because of Gigo. He's got a lot of different champions he could play, right? Now with the Camille coming back into vogue, you've got Camille, Gwen, Jax. Like, okay, there's 3 champions, and then you've got your Ambessas, and you're just kind of your sit there and soak pressure type champions as well. I think again, I've kind of always thought that Furia's going to go as far as Gigo takes them. Because there is, he's such a good X factor for them. But if he is off, it could just muck up the whole game plan. I don't know. I think Furia could benefit a lot. But I do think that Loud, I mean, unfortunately, just from, especially when you get into best of 5s, they could just do things a number of different ways. I mean, well, actually, I say that. Shinny on non-tank and spank junglers has not given me much hope. So maybe if it does get into that, maybe we start to panic for Loud. But it's just, how far down the tank and spank jungler list can you go? And as someone who that's all they play, believe me, you could play quite a few tank and spank junglers. They're just not meta right now. Like, you could play the Amumu right now. That's not an insane thing, right?
The Rek'Sai hovers we kept seeing, like I was thinking like Shinny.
Dude, if Shinny plays Rex, that scares me so much.
Like scare you in a good way or scare you in a bad way?
In a bad way. But
Okay.
I think that would be a disaster for Loud. Just because it seems like their win conditions and their formula right now is kind of narrow, just compositionally, of like what they're asking Shinny to do, especially, right? So if they find themselves deviating from that, I just don't think that's how you win your backs against the wall game 5. I think it's you put Shinny on a Mumu and let Tinon's Robo and Root cook.
Okay, so Furia up top,
Vi, then that's a W.
And maybe Loud bottom is what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Oh, the
Best of 3s, not best of 5s though. So
best of 3s, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think best of 3. I don't know. Yeah, to Trajan's point, I just don't know. I don't know how much it's going to actually be tested. Right. Who I really worry for is Mongo because there have been like 2 champions I've liked him on.
That's fine. Just win both games. I need 2 champs. No problem.
True.
No problem.
For me, hot take. I think Isra Sestral is going to benefit for BO3.
Why?
Because I think they're stable. Like their performance has been consistent.
Consistently terrible.
Consistently bad, but it is still consistent. And I think like, if they're going up against teams, the problem is I think a lot of the Brazilian teams are inconsistent. Not even Brazilian teams, because Leviathan's like the poster
the
boy for
most
inconsistency
inconsistent,
right now.
for sure.
Yeah. So you got Lev, Cade, Red, arguably Furia, because Gigo's liking to test things out along with Tuts, who are very inconsistent right now. And I think the more games you have, the better chance Istra's Estro will have. Do I think Istra's Estro will be the best team in best of 3? No. Do I think they benefit the most from best of 1 to best of 3? Yeah, because their best of 1s are pretty terrible. I think the team that's going to suffer the most is Flux W7M, because they can't get lucky wins anymore. Or if you get that one swift win,
yeah.
Guess what?
Like, I don't think they can win 2.
Can they actually take 2 wins off anybody in one day?
Yeah.
Especially when even teams like IE look better than they did 2 weeks ago. Like,
yeah.
Red's getting a
Press
big
X
new,
to help.
big new jungler back in. Not new, you know what I mean. So yeah, even the ones that they could hope to exploit potentially in some ways. Yeah, like Loud looks a lot better than they did in week 1 and 2. Like, yeah, they're running out of options for freebies. And now as you say, they can't get freebies anymore. They have to get 2 in a row. So yeah, that's probably reasonable. First match. Pain Lev.
Okay.
Last time, Leviathan with the 2-1 victory over Pain, to everybody's surprise. Last time they actually played, pretty conclusive 1-0 to Pain. 4x4? What are we thinking? Predictions?
I think it's a Pain 2-0.
RMC is writing, so I will also say I think it's a Pain 2-0. I don't think we're mucking about like we were in Split 1. Lane swaps are
I don't know. It's a Pain win for sure. Because even if Leviathan, this Split's Chaos Engine can steal a win, that wouldn't like shock me. But if Pain loses best of 3, like
there's no shot that they lose the best of 3, right? RMC, right?
I don't think they will, but I do think this is a tripping hazard for Pain specifically, because Leviathan is so incredibly like their highs are really really high, right? And we've seen them before. You make one mistake, they can end the game on you. I think Pain need to make sure they don't follow this up. They're not getting too experimental with this and don't treat this like a free win. But they should not lose this.
Yeah.
I'm really scared to cast this, but no way Pain loses, right, guys?
If we see like the Cody LeBlanc into just like some sort of immobile mage from Roamer, and then Cody gets like 3 solo kills and then just one taps everyone in the game. Like you only need one thing like that to happen.
Cody.
So that's the thing. I actually think low key Ziggs is not a bad matchup into LeBlanc from my experience, but I don't play at a pro level, so I won't ask what pro LeBlancs can do to Ziggs players.
You're right.
I think it's fine.
Ziggs is a good matchup.
Anyway, so I think it's going to be 2-0. 404 thinks it's going to be 2-0. RMC, I'm going to push you for a number. 2-0. Pain. Okay. No hope for Leviathan. Again, this is just the first match. Every group plays each of their 3 opponents once in a best of 3, and then we do cross groups later. So we'll get to that when we get to it. VKS, Isurus Estral, RMC, the biggest benefactors of best of 3s. Is it enough to do anything against Cade Stars, who just finished going 0-3? May we remind everyone.
I'm really scared for Cade Stars. Like, Cade is the big question mark on this one. It should be 2-0 for Cade, especially with the way they're playing the early game. But the way they're playing their late game is just like, the hell are we doing? If there is an IE win, I'm going to call that it's Cade crapping the bit again. If not, it should be a 2-0.
Yeah.
It's not an IE. It's on Cade.
No notes. I think Cade 2-1, they're going to beat themselves one game. But they will come out on top just because I don't trust Isurus Estral. They've given me very little hope this split.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the individual lane matchups, and I think I would give IE one game. I think it's 2-1 VKS.
It's doubly bad versus Estral for me because their winning lanes in my head are Joseo and Miria. And Kissy has been an incredible mid laner this split. Like even when Cade Stars are screwing up, following themselves up, it's not Kissy doing it. So suddenly Mirio's neutralized, and then you've got Jose Deodo versus Desamis. Now that one's a bit more variable. Desamis has had moments where he's messed up in the game, so maybe that could go his way, but it's not super favorable. And then Summit, I would have said beats Bowl last split, but I think Cade Stars have been using Bowl incredibly well and giving him carries and giving him resources, and Morteus is a stat monster. So if Snake or Ackerman are not punishing Morteus becomes a team fight stat monster as the game goes on.
And Summit hasn't been really doing the Summit thing that much. He's not been individually outperforming his lane opponent consistently in the way that people expected him to in the past. Sometimes like you can gank for him and you'll get a kill, and you can give him some kills on a carry like Rumble and he'll be good, but you can't just leave him to 1v1 and expect him to win, because he doesn't. So they can't expect that to happen, and that leaves the door open for Bowl to potentially get a comfort pick, get something, maybe gets a little bit of assistance from Desamis as well, and to really make a mockery out of Summit, which multiple teams have done since he came in. So I'm a 2-1 VKS, 404, you're 2-1 VKS, RMC, were you 2-1 VKS, 2-0 VKS, okay. Red Fluxu W7M, featuring probably Aegis. Does anyone want to give Fluxu a game? Considering Fluxu, we just got done saying that they are not going to win a single series, would anyone like to give them a game?
If it was Doom, I'd actually give them a game.
Yeah, I kind of probably would too. But I won't, though, to be clear as well.
Well, this is not Doom, it's Aegis.
I won't, it's Aegis, and I kind of think Aegis is going to put on a 25-minute lecture as to how to jungle in LTA South, and Ganks is going to learn something perhaps. 404, do you have any difference of opinion here?
Nope.
Nope. No notes. Yeah, no notes.
I'll give Fu a game. I think Fu will win half a game in each of the games.
He'll win half a game.
And that adds up to one game. That's how that works.
I think Fu might win lane for 3 games. And they would still only win. They would still win 0 games.
They'll lose twice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Win none. Yep. Unfortunate. Okay, Loud Furia. Now, this one is very interesting because of the Loud Furia match being as close as it was. Furia's kind of interesting shift in style and kind of game, the way their games have unfolded in Super Week. Still finishing 5-2, still finishing better than Loud, still beating Pain, whereas Loud were not able to beat Pain. 404. What are we thinking? Loud Furia?
This is gonna be interesting. I mean, this you could give me all 4 results and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yep.
I think this is where Furia can exercise their demons. I will say Furia 2-1. I think they are going to get over the hump here, and start their road to a first place finish. Surely, look, I don't know how far I believe in Furia, but they've given me enough to say, okay, they can beat this iteration of Loud in a best of 3. I think they can do it. I think Gigo Robo matchup is going to be so much fun to watch. That could be entertainment out the wazoo. I think Furia will do it, but I think it'll be 2-1.
RMC, do you have faith? We've all been on the Furia hype train this split. Are you ready to get off yet?
I mean, I've been a Furia shooter the entire time, and this is definitely match of the week. Regardless of what the outcome is, this is probably match of the week. I think the problem is my trauma is overcoming my faith right now. Watching Loud pull out the BS 3-0 again this last Super Week, like I said, man, it's traumatizing me.
The sense that it doesn't make sense, it's not fair, but it just happens anyway.
I think I'll let the demons win this one. The trauma is winning. I'm gonna call it. You know what? If I'm all in. This week it's all 2-0s for me, baby. 2-0 Loud.
Oh, 2-0 Loud.
Wow.
Just the most cursed result of all. Not even a win for Furia.
Yeah, I think it's either 2-0 Loud. It's either 2-0 Loud or 2-1 Furia. And I'm letting the demons win today, so it's going to be 2-0 Loud.
I think it's 2-0 Furia. Gosh darn it.
Okay. I want that to be the case. I want that to be the case so badly.
I think that ThinkCard is going to sit down. They're going to look at last week and go, this is what went wrong. We tried something else out. We tried a different pace of game in the early game. This didn't work. This did work. They'll take the learnings. They'll maybe even just return to what worked a little better for this specific matchup to just go, we can just do what we were blowing everybody else out with up to that point. And I think that Loud will not know what hit them, and we'll get furied, and I'll get some hope back.
Hope so.
It's only to then lose it in playoffs when they lose a best of 5 twice to Loud. So, but I'm going to take 2-0 Furia. So this one, as you said, RMC, absolutely match of the week. We've got a spread of predictions here across the board. And you will not want to miss it that Sunday. Second game on Sunday coming up to this week. So last thing to do is mailbag. A couple of questions. We have one from Dark Knight, which is, do you prefer House Azir or Gigo Azir? And now
that one's for you, Trajan.
This is probably for me. This is probably a question for me.
That is so funny.
Gigo's Azir was a trip, man. Just the complete falling flat in the first 20 minutes in this supposed theorized counter matchup. Looking like he looked like he'd played it before. He didn't look like he was first timing Azir. He looked like he knew what he was doing on the champion, but it just was not working. And then the FNB moment happens. Gigo gets 3 or 4 kills in a couple of minutes over the turned over fights and a Baron buff. They get a 6,000 gold Baron power play, and then he's 4 items instantaneously, and suddenly he's 1v3 double killing and outplaying massively whenever it looks like Red are gonna get a look into a play. And it's the comebacks that Gigo mounted from top lane these last couple of weeks have been so funny. Just to go that down in lane to them being that useful, and even on the top Azir makes it work. But we did not see a WQE slide from blue mid turret wall through to the other side of the mid brush into 4-man shuffle into game.
It's a very high bar to clear.
So I'm gonna have to say
that lives
How's
rent-free in
Azir.
Trajan's heads for years.
Until I see a better Azir play, it's always gonna be How's Azir, I'm afraid. That's
Have you seen How's Azir recently, Trajan?
I have not seen how. So even like in the more recent, like his last few games of Azir in CBLOL, they did not hit the same. They were not hitting the same. I can admit that, but it's always going to be How's Azir, man. It's like I'm not supporting How's on Kaboom IDL because he's the best player in CD. I don't believe that's currently the case, and I'm not going to pick How's Azir because I think he's genuinely. I mean, I do think he probably is a better Azir than Gigo, the top laner. But it's not because he's the best Azir in the region. That's not why I'm picking.
You say that like people can't offer. I thought Tuts was the better Jhin on his team when he played in mid.
Tuts was a fire Jhin, to be clear. Yeah, we cannot espouse the Tuts Jhin.
Sorry, easy. I think you're a good AD carry. I just think Tuts' Jhin was better.
But I'm not gonna claim that Tuts is better at Jhin than like who's the best Jhin in the region?
Trigo.
Brunse maybe?
Yo, low key. Yeah.
Actually Trigo, yeah.
Is it actually Trigo? Who's he on right now?
I actually think so, as weird as it is.
Who's he on? Is he on Corinthians? He's on Dopamina? Who's he on? Because Trigo's in CD, yeah?
Yeah, he's in CD. I'm actually blanking.
He's on one of the ones.
He is on Corinthians.
He's on Corinthians, yeah.
He has to be, yeah, because Kaboom's Skuro, so yeah. He's
yeah. Lol. I so I mean I can't say who was it? Drop from Netshoes Miners from Drop Hawk with like the 1 hour long Jhin comeback game that was like the first Netshoes Miners game I watched.
Deep cut.
That was a very deep cut, and that was the first game where I was like, these Miners guys.
That was a formative experience for you.
These Miners guys are pretty cool.
Actually was.
And that was Croc Miners as well, I believe, with Annie in mid lane. Yep. All of my special Blorbos still floating around the LTA South ecosystem somewhere.
I think that's how you have to. They are some special Blorbos.
Yeah, that's all we can really say about them, to be honest. But no, I'm afraid it's got to be How's Azir. Dark Knight. Nice try to get me to try and drop the boy, but I will not drop the boy. Not today.
Agent's loyal.
Yes, I am loyal. Now, the second suggestion from Lunar Day, is a suggestion that since the LTA North has been known to do loser shaves their head games, can we get a 4x4 versus Trajan hair match over Corinthians versus Kaboom if they meet in the playoffs? And I'm going to be honest, Lunar Day, you have asked two married men to bet their hair on a video game.
On tier 2 League of Legends in Brazil.
Tier 2.
Man, Azil is a LTA North tier 1 cosmic.
Azil has been bald for 10 years.
Man. He is bold.
How dare you the fact you do it?
Like,
yeah, I'm gonna politely decline this one. I like where your head's at.
APA can do that all he wants. Man's got no bitches, okay? He doesn't have another stake in this. I'm just gonna say it. Like, this unfortunately protects me against hair versus hair matches. It's like a guardian, like, shield seal. You can't break it. So
yeah. Lunar Day. I'm trying everything in my power, medically and otherwise, to keep hair on my head. Yeah. I will never willingly remove it from.
Yeah,
myself.
we are protecting the hairlines right now as we approach the big 3-0. I am closer to it than 4x4 is, as we've sadly discovered, but. You know that we can't be testing the limit.
Like these three on this podcast, we're finally being confronted with aging. Yeah. You're asking the wrong people.
Boys, you're approaching it. I'm looking at speed away in my rearview mirror right now.
Exactly. Would you shave your head?
Would you shave your head for?
Would you shave your head based on CD?
Not for Corinthians and not for Kaboom.
Who would you shave your head for? This is not me holding.
Paid Gaming Academy.
For Would you shave it for Pain, like Pain versus Loud split 3 grand finals?
Honestly, Kate, if you asked me last year, I actually probably would have, and I probably would have had to shave my head because I thought Pain Gaming Academy was the best team bar none. And then Kate starts beat them.
I mean, they were.
Yeah.
They were.
Well, but they beat Pain in the second split, and I was like, what? And then Pain Gaming went on to win the Challengers Americas, which was the bigger tournament, but they didn't technically win. So thankfully, Luna didn't ask me last split, and now there's no Pain for me to worry about.
Yep.
Yeah, no. Nice try. Not happening.
Nice try, Lunar Day. Unfortunately not. We're going to have to politely decline at this point. Okay. That's going to wrap us up for today. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Thank you for an RMC for joining me once again for this episode of Gringos Liberados. Everybody, we'll be back normal time, Saturday, Sunday. 2 best of 3s this time, so I think we're starting an hour earlier again. We're back to like split 1 time. Because there's now a maximum of 6 games, so we're not starting. We're starting at 12 instead of 1, I guess, local Brazilian time, I believe. For me, it's 4 p.m. instead of 5. So set your clocks an hour earlier, or don't do that because then you'll still show up an hour early. But check your calendars and check the dates on Wikipedia or wherever to make sure you show up on time because we're starting at 1 hour earlier. 2 best of 3s each day, getting into the group phase, and we will see how our predictions shake out to see who's actually gonna continue their momentum or who's going to start to struggle, because this will now be into the fearless stage of the competition. So more picks, more bans, more games. We love it. Thank you, everybody.
League of Legends.
League of Legends. Couldn't have said it better myself. We will see you on Saturday. Peace.
Yeah, and shout out to our special guests on the episode, Trajan and 484's hair. Peace.